Alright guys, here is another one of these Abus 7550s. This is a dimple lock. I've opened one of these before, but I get a lot of questions about why are they so difficult to open. And I've never opened one up. So there's what the pinning looks like. By the way, the pinning on this side is what we have to pick. The other side, you see a lot of these with varying types of cuts in there. Those circular cuts, those are really only for key control. We don't have to pick those. Those are passive as opposed to active pins. So we're only going to pick the 6 guys on this side, hopefully. Let's go ahead and clamp them up. This is brand new out of the box. Had so many questions, I thought I would just order one, and it just came in. So let's see what we got here. Alright, if there's any trick to dimple locks, particularly ones like this that do contain security pins, it would be tensioning. Let me back up just a little bit here so you can kind of see what I'm doing. I have a whole selection. These are all what they call music wire. I don't know what kind of musical instrument it's used in. Comes in varying widths. You can find it on eBay. And actually I think these are made from, some of these are titanium that Mr. Q in Berlin made for me. But you basically form them into different sizes on the tips, and then you just kind of experiment. So what I do, I like to put it in sideways. I like it to be really tight. So that one obviously is no good. We'll try this guy. He's a possibility. He's pretty good. I'm going to set him aside. I want it as solid a lockup as I can get. That one's got too much flop in it. He's obviously no good. I want one like this one that I can literally ram in there, and that way I can control the tension in both directions. So when I reach one of those security pins, that's what I'm going to stay with. I can release the tension to allow myself to pick that security pin. Now the second secret, if you will, you got to find a curved flag that will fit. You can pick from the left or the right side. If I pick from the left side, you notice this flag. I'm trying to get around the camera here, but you can see he doesn't quite fit in there. He's too big. There's not enough of a slot on the left side. So I'm going to find a right flag. And I happen to have one that I use all the time on these type of locks. This is from the Sauber kit. And it's just a piece of flat steel that they've somehow heated up and put a slight bend in there. And I'm going to put him on that side just like that. And then that way he'll reach up into that gap. And if there's any high cutters, hopefully he'll be able to get up inside of there. So let's give it a shot. Alright, I'm going to hold the tension wrench. Well, let me make sure this is the one. That ought to do. I'm going to hold it like this so I can control it in both directions. So let's apply some tension and slide back there until we find a binder. Feels like pin, no, maybe not. I slid right under him. 3, I got to click on him. See if we can find another binder on the way back. I felt a little give on the core. Okay, now I get a little bit of counter rotation. It's going to be difficult to see here. I'm going to move this, and I am going to zoom in, because sometimes the feedback on these is just very slight. Let me go back there and get on pin 4 again, and hopefully, you see that feedback just a little bit there? Come on. Maybe not. I'm not quite on 4. Get under there. I think, there we go. That's 4. We're getting very slight feedback. So I'm going to put my pin right under him, release a little tension, and hopefully I got him. And pull him out. Okay, I'm on 2, little counter rotation, and release tension, allow him to go home. Going to the rear. Feels like pin 5. Little counter rotation. I don't want to let too much tension, otherwise everything will fall. Okay, I think I got him. And I got a pretty good deep set going. See if I find another one, give me some feedback. I know those guys feel good. Okay, here we are, 1. If I get under him. Come on. Tell you what, since it's pin 1, I'm just going to grab a normal pick. I can control it just a little better, and I can put a little more tension on them, because if I release too much, all those other pins are going to fall. But if I have a straight pick like this, I can apply more upward pressure, give me a little bit better leverage. See if we can get him. Pin 1, see the little counter rotation there? Of course, I may break my pick. Get on there. If I can get under him. There we go. Oh, got an open. All right. That's what we're looking for. All right. There's no way, let me back this out now. There's no way to really open these locks. There's no screw. There's no way to disassemble them. Down there, these are absolutely permanent. What we're going to have to do is find the pins, and they're going to be coming out on one side. I'm probably just going to machine the side, pull the pins, and then I'll lay them on a tray. And we can see why these things are so tricky. So give me a couple minutes, clamp this thing up. Oh, by the way, let me make sure it does work with the key. I didn't even bother to try it, but yes, very smooth. All right, let me put this thing on the milling machine, cut it open, and let's take a look at the pins on this guy. Guys, I gotta say they came out pretty good. Machined off the top of this, the entire housing for the shackle itself. You can see all 6 pins. I've already chamfered those, so hopefully they'll pop out when it comes time to gut it. But the interesting part is that you can see how this works. See, we got the rounded, there's the ball bearing. So when this slides into the housing, and then turn the key, let me try to do this without anything flying out. We have a fully functional lock, just without the side on it, as if I'm going to use that. Anyway, let's see if we can go ahead and open it. And let's pop these pins out of here. I'm going to start, I guess, on this side. Let's take a look. Okay. All right, I popped out the first 2, and they are both very nice looking spools. Number 3, spool. Number 4, spool. Number 5, spool. No, that was number 6, sorry. Came out in the wrong order. Number 5. I might not have chamfered him quite enough. Let's see if I can pop him out with a little bit of banging. There he goes. No, that's a key pin for 6. That makes it a little bit easier to bang on it. Let me take the other key pins out first. Maybe. There we go. That is a spooled key pin. Very nice. I would not have expected that. Number 2. Same thing, spooled key pin. Actually, no, that was number 3. That was it's actually a torpedo. I'll show a close up in a minute. Not enough chamfering to get number 2 out of there, I think. Alright, making a mess of this like I usually do. Okay, that is the spool for number 5. He finally got loose enough. Let me go ahead and pull the rest of these guys out of there, and I don't want to do too much banging on camera here. Or maybe not. Let me get these out. I got to chamfer this a little bit better to get those guys out of there. Stand by. All right, got all the pins out. We'll take a look in a minute, but I want to look at the core to see if they've done anything to it, like undercutting or anything. But there's one brass dowel right there. It limits the rotation to 90 degrees, and it also keeps us from pulling that core out. So I'm going to drill him out, and then we'll take a look at the core, then I'll show you the pins. Alright guys, there's no surprises, no undercutting or countermailing, no threading or anything inside of here. What we do have on the other side of this are those passive pins I told you about. Let's talk about the difference between passive pins and active pins. Active pins are just like regular pins. It means you have to pick them in order to get the lock picked. These pins are only for key control. Now, perhaps a particular lock shop bought the right to this particular key. He buys the right to those pins right there. And they're really on the opposite side of the normal pins. So he buys that key. Nobody else can have that key. And you have to buy it from him. When you slide the key inside of there, of course the pins would be correct. And then on this side, come on, because those grooves are lined up properly, all of those pins are allowed to go down inside of the core, and they don't protrude. Now, What happens if one of them protrudes? Well, let's find out. First of all, let's pop one out. Let's take a look at one of these little guys. It doesn't look like a regular pin. He's a little bit narrower on one end, and they're also pointed on both ends. Let's take him and put him in the wrong place. Let's take this little guy and let's shove him right there in the last position. Now what happens? Now we take that key and we shove it into the lock, and right away all the other pins push down except that last one. He doesn't go down inside of the core, and he prevents it from turning. Well, how does he do that? Well, pretty easy. Let me find that lock body. If you look in the bottom of this, you'll notice that in this lock body there's a groove right in the bottom, and that groove obviously is where those little passive pins go. So if we use the wrong key, if I buy a key from another manufacturer and I try to copy someone's key, or if I try to manufacture a bump key, I may be bumping all those pins correctly, but because I don't have the grooves on this side correct, I'm going to be locking up, actually securing that lock with these pins on this side. So pretty cool mechanism for key control, but as far as picking, you don't have to pick these guys. So just stay away from those, just pick the 6 on this side and you'll be perfectly fine. Totally passive, doesn't enter into the picking formula at all. Anyway, there you go guys, the ABUS 75 IB50 and the difference between active pins and passive pins. Thanks for your time, stay safe, stay legal.